Now, I know that we're all sick and tired of hearing about coronavirus, but with what's happening in England at the moment and being a Brit in Sweden, it's worrying to see the UK shutting down, locking down, quarantine being imposed by law, and in the meantime, Sweden is an open country. There are, of course, recommendations on social and physical distancing, which is all good. And I must comment that the Swedes are far more compliant and disciplined in following those recommendations in comparison to the Brits, who, as we saw at the weekend, were photographed sunbathing on beaches and gathering up in groups. However, it is also happening in Sweden, not to the same extent. Most people are following the advice, but the reality is that people are not following it strictly enough, and therefore the virus is still spreading. If we look at the most recent statistics from Stockholm, there are just over 3,000 people reported as infected with coronavirus now, as opposed to in the south of Sweden, here in Skåne, there are just over 300. So 10 times the amount of people infected in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, versus down here in the south, about 6 hours drive from Stockholm. It begs the question, Sweden haven't imposed a lockdown nationally yet, but should they not be doing it in Stockholm at least? Closing the connections between Stockholm and the rest of Sweden. The outbreak mainly started or commenced in Stockholm actually, which makes sense being the capital of Sweden and a major city where most of the population are congregated. But should they not be locking down that city now and imposing the same kind of lockdown and quarantine restrictions as they have in the UK? Because as Stockholm is a hotbed at the moment of the virus, it would at least safeguard the rest of Sweden and a national spread. Because so far the uptake in the rest of Sweden is incredibly slow, and in Stockholm it's incredibly fast. Surely the government needs to act now and lock down that city to stop it spreading further. Who knows? And maybe over the coming week we might see such lockdown or announcements made, because the government have to start acting quickly now, with the figures in Sweden starting to rise as with the rest of the world. But regardless, this is a serious situation, and I think Sweden maybe needs to start rethinking their current strategy. We're told that we need to trust the government, but it's hard to trust the government when other governments in other countries are doing different things. Nobody knows who's right or wrong at the moment, and we probably won't know for at least 6 to 12 months as to who got it right, because this really is new territory for everybody, and that's what makes this even more scary. Regardless, comment below with your concerns. What do you think about the strategy that Sweden are taking? Are they taking the right approach? Have they got it right, or do you think they've got it horribly wrong? Stay safe, everybody, and remember to keep that social and physical distancing. Cheers, guys.